Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about how we can work with functions in Oracle SQL. Again, just as a preface, we're going to be using the dual table, and that's what we use to do some just quick little demos when we're not actually working with an individual database. If you want to model these practices using actual data, of course you change the from clause to reflect the database that you're working with and the tables that are associated with that. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. We want to take a look at using some functions using math. So we can talk about using how we can operate on some numeric values when we're working with Oracle SQL. We're going to look at how to use modulo, ceiling, floor, and the round functions because they're really pretty helpful to do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at those, do a quick little demo, and then go from there. The first demo we're going to look at is the mod function. Again, the mod is the modulo or the remainder division. We use this all the time in programming land, and we'll even use it in database land as well. And so the mod function works almost the exact same way that you'd work with it. It's just an example of long division. Do the division, keep the remainder, and throw away the answer. And so the first parameter in a modulo is the source variable we're working for, in this case 4. We're going to divide it by 3 and keep the remainder. And of course, again, as anytime we're working with the function type, we always want to make sure we have an as on there because we want to explain what we're working with as the result for that. So go ahead and run that query right there, and boom, modulo demo gets us a 1 on that. So mod takes 3, divides it into 4, throws away the fact it divides in there 1 time, and gives me the remainder of that 1. So a better example of that 124, we can actually see, oh, it's not just doing 1 in there, and do that division, and still the answer is 1 because it'll go into 124 n number of times. We don't care, but there's 1 left over because 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6, which means it's divisible by 3, so we only have 1 left over and we're good to go for that. So that's how we can use that using the modulo function. It's one of the more common ones we can actually play with when we're working with database functions in there. We'll go ahead and wipe that out. And we'll grab our next one. Our next section we're looking for are the ceiling and floor functions. Now, ceiling and floor are really cool because they can actually look at what we're working with inside the data. And instead of rounding, we're going to go up to the next number. There's no rounding involved. That's why I specifically picked 231.01 because if you round that, it's just going to be 231. With floor, I also picked 149.93 because when you round that, it would be 150. But when you use the floor, it automatically just drops off the value of any decimal and simply gets at that bottom value with that. Hence the floor and the ceiling of it. So we'll go ahead and run those queries right here. We can see that demonstration. So the ceiling of the value is 232 because it automatically goes up to the next integer value. And the floor of that is 149. It drops at that 0.93, even though it's very much clearly closer to 150 than it is to 149. It just drops those values. And again, when you pass it a number, it drops off the decimals no matter what when we're working with to do that. So that's how we use the ceiling and the floor function using Oracle SQL. The last one we want to take a look at are the round function. The round function is really quite helpful. When we're using a round, we have 2 parameters on this one instead of with our previous one, just like ceiling and floor is just the 1 value. And we're rounding, I can see I'm using number pi right here because it's a great little demonstration. So I have 3.1415, passing it 1 to round on the 10th place. And I have the same number, passing it 3 to round to the 1000th place. And then finally 42 negative 1 to round to the tens value. Excuse me, the tens value. So we'll go ahead and run that really quick. Boom. And rounding to the tenths, we get 3.1 because the 4, of course, doesn't round up. So we just drop it right off right there, and rounding tenths is 3.1. When I take 3.1415 and round to the 1000th place, I get 3.142 because that 5 changes the 1 to the 2 when we're doing rounding. Cool. Now, if I pass it a negative number, on the opposite side, it goes and it actually looks to the left-hand side of the decimal point. And so passing it round 42 and negative 1 is going to round on the 10th place. And so I get 40 because 42 rounds down to 40 for that value. And so rounding is different from ceiling and floor. Rounding does that regular operation you've been working with since you're a little kid when you're trying to get the closest number you're working with, going by tens in this case, what we're working for. And so that's how I can make that happen and do some cool stuff using functions inside Oracle SQL based on math. There's other cool functions you can do. All the trig functions are there. You can even do some advanced functions like, say, for example, stats calculations. Great stuff you can work with, but those are not what we're working for today, so you can take a look at those another time. But you can do anything you can do in regular math land. You can also do in SQL or Squirrel math land as well. Hope this helps you out. Have a great day. Cheers, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.